Welcome back to this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. This week we're sitting down with experts from Dow AgriSciences as well as fellow cattlemen to talk about the importance of forage management. We've had a great discussion so far, and Pat, I want to pick it up with you. Why do weeds and brush encroach pasture in the first place?
Yeah, well, one of the things we talked about earlier is a drought. I mean, that's usually a good setup. Anytime you thin your forage base, something's going to come in there as soon as the rain comes. And so, you know, as you get that moisture back, a lot of times the opportunistic weeds are the ones that are going to come in. But the other thing it could be an indication of is a fertility issue. Sometimes those are the species, you know, the species that you see to show up out on a site, and the thinning of your desirable forage grasses are an indication that there's a fertility problem. And you know, so those are the kinds of issues that can demonstrate a problem. But also grazing management, overgrazing a site. Oftentimes that is the one thing that will cause a lot of issues. If your fertility is not a problem, if you're in good condition, moisture condition, but if you start to see some problems as a result of overgrazing. As those weed patches grow, then that puts more pressure on the adjacent pieces of land, and so then that puts more pressure on the grass as well.
So once we've identified that we have a problem, be it weed or brush or what have you, what guidance would you give us in terms of how do we make sure we choose the right product at the right time for the challenge that we're facing?
Yeah, and Mike sort of alluded to that earlier when he was talking about his timing of application. Oftentimes, if you're out there and you're seeing the weed as a problem, it may be too late. You know, it's doing a lot of its damage. So to inventory that site, to keep records, set goals for your pastures, but to inventory those sites and recognize there was a problem here last year, or there was a problem here before coming out of a drought with biennial thistles. And so you anticipate that, and you scout those sites, and you do your inventory, and you select your herbicide appropriately to manage that site. As you look at the different type of herbicide selections, you know, using something with residual control, so that if you're out there making an application to an early season biennial thistle, but you know that there's going to be another problem coming in later, some of the annuals or some of the later emerging perennials like horse nettle, then if you have a residual herbicide, meaning that it not only works as a foliar herbicide, but it also works from root uptake, then you can oftentimes control some of those weeds and give that grass an additional amount of time, I guess, to get that bump.
Well, the drought certainly has created some challenges.